Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Gabby, and I'm taking a break from playing Baldur's Gate, the video game, to talk about Baldur's Gate, the Magic cards.
You've been playing it nonstop. This is the All Riley episode. The guest is calling from inside the house.
Wow.
We've had a lot of sort of shared experience with Baldur's Gate over the last couple of weeks. It just came out on Xbox maybe a month ago. And we've both been diving deep. We both have kind of solo playthroughs. We've both beaten the game once. I was looking through all the cards from Battle for Baldur's Gate, the Magic set from last year. And I was realizing that although a lot of those characters are present in that Magic set, they're maybe not fully realized as to how they actually are in the video game. So what we thought we'd do is maybe go over some of these companions. Everyone loves the companions. You play the game long enough, you're going to fall in love with all of them. We're going to talk about these companions, talk about their existing card, maybe talk about some of their flavor, and then maybe see if we have like an idea for a new card or like a new mechanic or something like that between the two of us.
Yeah, the timing is just so off on these. If I was seeing these cards for the first time now after playing the video game, I would be so much more hyped. But because of so much lead time for both the paper cards and the video game, I think there's a little bit of divergence. And even on the release dates, they didn't line up.
Yeah. Maybe some of these character designs are even a little bit outdated. Some of the characters don't look like they look in the final game. Yeah. But we're going to fix all that today. We're going to at least repair it in our minds.
Yeah, so we are not Baldur's Gate video game experts. We didn't play in early access, and we just picked it up a month or so ago. In terms of spoilers, we're going to try to keep it, quote, Act 1, which is kind of the starter map, starter area, and the things that the champions do there, because a lot of them have big character moments later in the game, and we're going to try to not cover those. Yeah. So hopefully it won't be too many spoilers for people who haven't played deep into the game.
Yeah, I think we are going to be talking pretty firmly about Act 1, though, like things that happen in Act 1, because some of them are like pretty core to the character as you experience them. And we didn't want to skip out on that. We didn't want to just go off of, their picture and their class. We want to get into some of who they are.
Right. So there will be some spoilers, but we're going to try to keep it early.
These are your party members, You're playing D&D, you have a group of 4 people, you have your character that you made, and then you recruit like 3 other friends, or you have more of them, you can kind of switch throughout the game. But, you got your classic fighter and cleric and rogue and wizard and a couple other ones in this that you get to recruit and make part of your party. I think the other kind of interesting thing about looking at these companion characters now, as opposed to when the Battle for Baldur's Gate commander set came out, is that most of them have the choose a background mechanic, which was sort of a partnering mechanic where you have like a character and then you have a background enchantment, and you get to put both of those in your command zone. And all the background enchantments enhance commanders. I think that was like really cool and essential to how like they got the multicolor stuff and the color identity stuff working in Battle for Baldur's Gate. But we're not actually going to worry about choose a background here. We're going to try to look at the characters. What do those characters mean mechanically, at their core, separate from choose a background?
Right.
Anything else before we get started on going through these cards, or should we just jump in?
One thing that we haven't played, but is possible, and a lot of people do play, is you can actually play as these characters in the video game. So instead of making your own character, for some of these, you can choose to be the character. And I don't really know what goes into that. I think there might be some flavor for people that play that way that we don't know about.
Yeah, the characters can develop in different ways. They can start as a bad guy and get redeemed. They can start as a good guy and turn into a bad guy.
Or if you're a bad guy, you can murder one of them and they never come back.
Yeah. It's maybe not quite like making cards off of a movie where the deeds of that character are like really clear and canonized. It's a little more variable than that. But the two of us have played like pretty varied playthroughs of Baldur's Gate so far. So I think between us, maybe we can have an average of how these characters feel.
Right. Yep.
All right. So our first one is going to be Lae'zel, Vlaakith's champion. This is 2 and a white for a 3/3. It's a legendary creature, Gith Warrior. A Gith is a special race in Forgotten Realms. If you would put 1 or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control, or on yourself, put that many +1 of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, and then choose a background. So that's the existing card. What is Lae'zel's flavor? What is she like in the game?
Right. So you mentioned the creature type Gith warrior. So Gith Yankee are the Forgotten Realms race that live in the astral plane, and they're stereotypically evil. They have a very hierarchical and brutal society. Lots of murder, lots of like soldier type stuff going on there, and that is an important part of her being Vlakath's champion. And that title at the top of the card is that she's completely devoted to the head of the Gith Yankee.
Yeah, Vlakath is this like old lich, which means she's like a zombie that's lived for hundreds of years. She can't die, or there's probably a way to destroy her, but can't naturally die, and is sort of like living forever, ruling this kingdom.
Right.
Their society is sort of cutthroat, kind of old school Klingon, like warrior race. Oh, as you're growing up, it's kind of expected if you want to be a cool soldier, you're going to be killing a bunch of your fellow students. You know, like you have to prove that you're more powerful by just like absolute ruthless development.
Yeah, and everybody in this race in the Forgotten Realms has psionic powers. So far jumping, stunning people, running fast, sometimes like teleporting from one place to the other. So there's definitely kind of a space alien vibe to this Forgotten Realms race as well.
Lae'zel actually is maybe one of the more straightforward of those characters. Like throughout the game, you might meet like monks or other kind of spellcasters. Lae'zel, in most people's playthrough, just has a gigantic weapon and that is there to like leap into battle and, you know, have a little battlefield mastery, but mostly just there to swing a giant weapon a bunch of times at people.
Yeah, I think that's where looking at the card doesn't fit that default playstyle for Lae'zel. So usually she has a big melee weapon. She's wearing heavy armor as a fighter. I think it not only the art, but also just like the size. 3/3 doesn't feel quite right for that. White does feel right for that because she is definitely a soldier, a warrior inside this very
hierarchy.
Structured. Yeah. But I would want her to be bigger based on how she plays in my party.
Yeah. If she's not bigger at a base, then she maybe needs some ability to pump herself, or otherwise like maybe like a first strike, double strike kind of thing, like the ability to deal a lot of damage, even if, you know, she's still the size of a human. But
right.
They kind of portray her here as sort of, she looks kind of like a ranger almost. She's got a bow and some arrows. She's kind of leaping through, she's kind of perched, you know, kind of Batman style on like maybe the top of a tower.
Yeah, the art doesn't imply heavy armor to me.
Yeah.
Is she even wearing shoes?
Oh, I don't know. There could be sort of an agility portion to Lae'zel. Like you could say,
Jumping,
well, it's technically heavy armor, but it's sort of lightweight and maneuverable. And yeah, the ability to use like psionics and stuff to jump around can allow you to be more nimble maybe than you know, her gross weight might suggest.
So what about the actual ability about putting counters +1 on creatures, planeswalkers, or yourself? Okay, what are the yourself counters?
That would be energy counters, experience counters. Technically, like poison, though you're probably not going to be doing that.
No, I wouldn't do that one, yeah.
No. So this is, I would say that yourself is not a huge part of this card.
Yeah.
The existing card, and it is a fairly popular card, the existing card is a way to like basically super friends a little harder. All your planeswalker pluses become better. All of your little mechanics that put +1/+1 counters on your creatures become better, and so on.
Yeah, it feels like the planeswalker part is the strong part. Because once you play a planeswalker with a plus ability, she's immediately valuable.
Yeah,
it feels like placing counters on creatures takes way more setup for this ability to be relevant.
I would say that there's not a lot of teamwork in Lae'zel's playbook.
No, I don't think she's a go wide kind of person.
No,
I think she would be happy adventuring solo and beating out every other person in her squad to get the most glory.
Yeah, there should be like a boss who is ruthless, and then everyone else, you know, gets sent on separate missions or whatever.
Yeah, they submit to their boss, but that's why they're there, but they're not actually a team.
Yeah. One of the mechanics that seemed like it might be kind of lazily is an old mechanic called Exalted, which
Yeah.
is like if one of your creatures attacks alone, something happens.
Oh, I love that. In the video game, I often have her just run out ahead.
Yeah.
Because she's the toughest. She's got the most health. She's going to go swing with her big axe over there. I think that her attacking alone makes a lot more sense than a go wide kind of team.
It could be Exalted itself. It could be something else. The kind of funny thing about Exalted is that it does imply a little bit of go wide because you want to have like 3 different creatures that have Exalted.
Right.
And then a 4th creature who's actually really good for attacking. And although Lazelle would enjoy that praise, I don't know that she's necessarily trying to do that. So it's maybe more the attacking alone than the specifically Exalted.
Right.
Maybe something if she's tougher if she's just attacking or blocking alone. Would that be cool?
Oh, yeah, I like that. Yeah, there are other cards like that. Are they in white, though?
Yeah, we saw in Neon Dynasty, the new Kamigawa, there was sort of a red-white samurai theme, and the samurai were all stronger if there was only one attacker or blocker.
Yeah.
I could even imagine like has like double strike if she's attacking or blocking alone or something like that. And double strike, once you start putting it on a commander, starts to get pretty fun because, you can try to power up your commander a little bit with equipment or something.
Yeah, it gets very lethal very fast. Yeah.
And then maybe what we could try to bring out in the second ability is something with those psionics. Jumping, stunning, something like that.
Right. Yeah, I think where I'm feeling a little bit limited is that all of these cards start as monocolored. Are we going to keep that restriction in our ideas?
Well, that might even be worth talking about just to kind of get a feel for these characters.
Right.
I probably would. I think black is pretty close to Githyanki society. It's sort of like everyone has to stand alone. It's not fully black because it really is all about that hierarchy. It really is about being the best. Do you think she's red?
I was thinking prowess.
Prowess. Okay.
So to go along with spell slingers, and then she's like the strong one that takes advantage of that.
So we're sort of thinking that we're going to be casting a couple spells along with Lazelle.
Maybe. I mean, I don't totally know. I think it fits with the psionic idea.
Maybe prowess is pretty good. Or like whenever you cast the instant or sorcery spell, she can get either +1/+1 or flying or stun something. I'm kind of making it up, but
right.
Yeah, as battle is happening, she's getting more and more stimulated here. So she's getting more excited and ready to jump in there.
I do like the idea of like a conditional flying matching the flavor of the Githyanki. And that could keep her in white. So maybe you like tap 3 other creatures to give her flying or something like that.
Okay. Another thing that I'm not sure we want to bring in, but that does exist a lot in D&D are the ideas of powers that are limited either by combat or by day. So like the ability for Lazelle to jump, she can't super jump all the time, but she can do it for a certain amount of time every day. So it might be that like you either have a resource or something like that allows you to jump a couple times with this card and then you run out.
Right. I'm not sure that's one I want to pursue for Lazelle. I think there might be others that need a bigger one-time power.
Yeah, when we get to some of the wizards and stuff, those are even more.
Yeah, that makes sense to kind of do it one time and then you're a different being after.
All right, so we have maybe this attacker block alone gain double strike sketch, and then we have this other thing where we want to gain like conditional flying or something like that. We can also just kind of merge those. We could say, hey, if you want to super jump, you don't also get to double strike.
Right.
So when she attacks or blocks alone, gain your choice of double strike or flying.
I like that. Yeah.
Because that's kind of true in the game. A tactical game like D&D is like got a lot of action economy to it. So you can sometimes decide like, well, I'm right next to the monster I want to fight. I'm just going to go to town and swing as many times as I can. The monster that I want to fight is way up on that cliff. I'm going to do like a cool thing to get up there and then maybe get one attack in.
Right. Yeah. And I like what you said about alternative, right? So same condition, and then you choose what effect you want.
I think the other kind of fun thing about the choice of double strike or flying is that it means if you do extra work to clear the way, you get to really hammer people with your double striker.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just not really that lazy, if Lae'zel's kind of on their own, give it flying. That's fine. It's a flying attacker. That's cool.
Yeah.
We maybe have like all the pieces we need just in that clause. The attacker block alone, gain your choice of double strike or flying.
I kind of like it, and it's not that many words, and it's very flavorful to how she plays in our game.
Do we want to try to make her like kind of a rate monster, like just like really good for her cost, and then just a pretty simple ability, and then just say go to town?
Yeah, I think so.
What would be a good size for her? I think probably, I'm thinking 4 power. We got to somehow find.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
4 power on a commander that could get double strike is a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe kind of the excitement is
right.
Like if it's just 3, doubling that up, I'd have to work pretty hard to get that into scary numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, an example of some like kind of statty white commanders. Like a big angel would be 5 mana, 5/5 flying first strike lifelink.
And our ability is way more conditional than that.
Yeah, absolutely. We thinking maybe like a 4 mana or 3 mana, 4 mana, 4/4.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I think that would be good. She doesn't have haste, which is why I'm just thinking about for like a Voltron type commander. It feels a little bit late to have her cost 4.
We could give her some sort of protection because she's a fighter, like a temporary protection or something like that.
Yeah.
Even just like some sort of ward might be enough to get her off the ground.
Ward would fit, yeah. I'm just worried that if she comes out on turn 4, she's very vulnerable for a whole round before she attacks.
If we're trying to get down on mana, she's extremely devoted. That's like the main thing about Lae'zel. Is that she's like really laser focused. We could go triple white. We could go 3 mana, but you got to be all in on white.
Interesting. Okay.
Like a white 4/3.
Yeah.
I guess if you're using this as a commander, the extra white is not a huge cost for you. But if you're trying to like play this in limited, you're trying to splash this in some other deck, it's going to be a little harder for you. So this is our treat for the mono white players, maybe.
Then putting it in the 99 in a commander deck, triple white feels brutal.
Yeah, it does kind of close it off as being like a role player.
Maybe 1 white would be enough of that limitation. I don't know. I'm not great at figuring out mana cost of things.
Yeah. Maybe ward almost represents like if you're wearing plate mail, shooting a thing at this is a little harder because it has a chance it's just going to bounce off the armor.
Yeah. The flavor of that with armor is really nice.
So right now we've got 1 white for a 4/3, which is pretty big for a white card, but maybe. It has ward 3. And then we just got the super clean ability on here. Whenever Lae'zel attacks or blocks alone, gain your choice of double strike or flying until end of turn.
Sounds great.
I kind of want a little more zhuzh. I don't know. I kind of want a little more dream to this. We'll just let Lae'zel. I think Lae'zel mechanically in the game is probably the most straightforward of them. A fighter.
Yeah.
Who's going around slapping people.
Yeah. Big weapon, big armor. Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. We're just content to just give her some nice numbers and move on.
Yeah, we can come back to it if we want to. But I mean, these are monocolor commanders that you get a second commander with a background. I guess, are we leaving the background clause in?
We're not leaving the background clause in.
I see. Okay.
Alrighty, next up we've got Shadowheart, Dark Justiciar, the internet's darling. She's 3 in black for a legendary creature, human elf cleric. She's a 3/4 and has the ability 1 in a black tap, sacrifice another creature. Draw X cards where X is that creature's power. Just choose a background as well. What's Shadowheart like?
Are we going to call her Shart? I'll try to say her name.
Shart.
You can cut all that out.
It's the way to say it. We call her Shart, yeah.
So she is a half-elf, so the type line human elf makes sense. Yeah. And she's a cleric of Shar, who is a usually evil god of misery, loss, forgetting, shadows. The clerics of Shar are all trained in trickery and making darkness and going invisible and stealthing around and betraying people and lying people. And she wants to be the greatest of them. So in a lot of ways, Shadowheart and Lae'zel are kind of in this like lawful order. Mm-hmm. But one's a cleric, one's a warrior. So the idea is that Shar, this god, exists and is the head of the order and gives them all these magic powers.
Maybe we should not call her Shart because that does sound just like Shar.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we have to go back up to Shadowheart.
Shadowheart, yeah. It is hard to hear the T at the end. I mean, they all start as weaklings with you.
Yeah.
But she does want to become kind of the prime cleric, the Dark Justiciar. So her title is aspirational.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely not a Dark Justiciar as you start the game. She's sort of like trying to belong. Whereas Lae'zel's like, I'm in the order, I'm really powerful, everyone knows it. Shadowheart is like, man, I really wish I could prove it to Shar that I'm cool.
Right. She's notoriously emo. She's all up in her feelings. She's got like emo bangs and wears black all the time and has a big scar over her face that is very prominent.
Yeah.
She hurts. She's got a mysterious wound that hurts her and she has to gasp and disrupt whatever the party was talking about to talk about how much pain she's in. Part of her training to be a cleric of Shar is that her memories have been wiped from before she committed to Shar. She has no memory of her childhood. I mean, it's so emo. It's so like somebody made a D&D character and wanted to have a tortured backstory.
Although she wants to be like a cool champion for a super evil god, you can see how your characters react to different things that your main player is doing. And Shadowheart really prefers you to do nice things for people. I think the other thing that we may or may not incorporate on the card is she starts the game with like a cool, mysterious, it looks like a spiky D20 really. And this was like, she knew this was her mission to get this thing. So she's trying to deliver this to the Shar Temple in Baldur's Gate. And, a lot of early conversations are about this thing and how mysterious it is and how much everyone else wants it.
Right. So my feelings about her ability.
Yeah.
Which are 1 and a black, tap, sack another creature, draw X cards where X is that creature's power. This just feels generically black to me.
Yeah. This would probably be more reasonable on Lae'zel than it would be on Shadowheart.
Right.
Lae'zel would be willing to sacrifice some people for power. I don't know if Shadowheart has it in her.
Yeah.
And she's not a boss of anybody, so she's definitely not like dragging someone to the pit or whatever.
Yeah. I think she wants to be the Dark Justiciar because she wants to be the best, not because she wants to beat other people.
She's chosen to work for this like evil god, and she wants to do a good job, and she doesn't totally want to think about how evil the god is. And conveniently, the god is a god of memory loss and forgetting. So she just selectively forgets things that she doesn't want to think about.
Right.
Shadowheart's also a cleric, so they have a variety of spells. Some of the Shar spells might map over where they have kind of trickery. Hey, I've got this dummy version of myself that is going to draw attacks, or like invisibility, I'm going to disappear, or darkness, I'm going to make it hard for other people to see. Some of those map pretty well to magic cards.
Yeah, I was thinking that might be more fun if those were her abilities. So like sneaking, disguising is like one of her built-in abilities.
Oh yeah, that's true, yeah.
making copies of herself. And I don't get any of that trickery vibe off of the existing ability. So what abilities in black feel like trickery?
Well, I think the famous one is ninjutsu, right? You thought I was
Mm-hmm.
this thing, but I was actually this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not totally sure if we want to make it. Shadowheart wants to be a ninja. She wants to be an armored justiciar, which are basically like
Mm-hmm.
Char's ninjas who wear plate mail.
Right.
Darkness and stuff like that, you could kind of do that with like negative power on creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So like if she had some ability to give like -2, -0, or -1 to enemy creatures or something.
Right.
We got her started here as a 3/4. I think the 4 is okay. She wears armor. She's
Mm-hmm.
pick up a shield usually. I don't know if she's 3 power. She might be a little lower than that.
Yeah, I don't think of her as doing much damage in the game.
Yeah. I guess it is kind of funny if we're talking about the Act 1 version of all the characters. You're right. They haven't leveled up that much yet.
Yeah.
So,
but even compared to the other characters, she
she
doesn't feel like a damage character. Yeah.
The Shadowheart is like the first cleric you get access to, which is like just tactically in D&D kind of nice because throwing out healing spells is like just kind of nice as in a tactical game. She's got flexibility. She can heal people. She could, debuff people. She could throw out some damage spells, but maybe not that good at it.
Right.
So a 1 or a 2 power feels more Shadowhearty to me.
Yeah, I like that.
Do we want to, you have something like Menace, giving people Menace, which would make them harder to attack. She's not making them scary though. It's not an illusion, I'm going to make my elf look like a giant ogre. It's not really that.
No, just making them disappear a little bit, which is
Yeah.
almost like Ward again. Or
Are there any other colors that you could imagine bringing in for Shadowheart here? Because like some of the trickery power set feels blue. I don't know if she's a blue character though.
No, I don't think that blue characters agonize as much about themselves. I think blue characters are a little bit more confident in what they're doing. What about reducing power on enemy creatures? Like a defensive.
Yeah. If it's just minus power, that also feels like it's leaking over into blue a little bit. But if we do like a -2, -1 somehow, either to a single creature or to a small group of creatures.
Yeah. Or even like a dead weight kind of ability, like activate to give -2, -2. There's also in the cleric spell list, there are Bane and Bless. And when you Bane an enemy, their rolls get worse. And when you Bless a friend, their rolls get better.
Oh, yeah.
So we could have like an option of Bane versus Bless.
Yeah, target creature gets your choice of
right
+2, +1, or -2, -1 until end of turn.
If we're adding power, that definitely bleeds into white, I think. And I think that would be the color that I often think of with clerics, just because of their healing abilities and buff abilities.
We got a whole lot of hierarchy again, right? Like her whole, even though she is willing to serve an evil god, she's willing to serve an evil god because she wants to be part of the club.
Right. I was thinking where that could turn into is a black activated ability and a white activated ability. And either you choose between them or you pay a ton of mana and get both.
A starting point for this would be something like 2 and tap. So do we want to do a different target for each thing? Yeah, we'd need to. If we want to cast both spells, we want to spend all the mana.
Well, okay. What if it's not a tap ability? What if it's just activated? And so you activate one with like 2 and a black, and you activate the other one with 2 and a white. I think I've seen commanders like that have several activated abilities in different colors. Obviously, Kenrith is a famous one, but there's a bunch of 2-color ones.
Yeah, the thing that I'd be a little worried about if we're trying to do like 2 and a white and 2 and a black is that like that would be very solid in a draft. Like those abilities would be good, but they're not really going to give us that commander dream, I don't think.
I see.
I think maybe if we get into a tap ability, then that can be
powerful enough that you build it around.
Yeah, it could just be 1 mana or something. So you're like swinging combats left and right.
Right.
The other way we could do it is like something could lower the cost of those abilities. So you have the 2 and a white, 2 and a black. And then you have like a third ability on her that's like her activated abilities cost X less based on X magical god thing.
Yeah.
Based on maybe like the number of other clerics you control.
I was thinking cleric tribal would be a fun thing to have a deck built around here.
Yeah. All right.
Like, so there could be an activated ability that results in -2/-2 for all non-clerics. It could be like a non-cleric wipe.
So she like blows up anything that's not Sharon.
Is that too weak for a commander?
No, I mean blown up all creatures that aren't your type is a great way to have a theme deck.
Let's say some cost, like, I don't know, 2 and a black and tap, and then all non-cleric creatures get -2/-2.
Whew. That would be quite potent.
Yes.
That's basically like creatures you don't control get -2/-2 until end of turn.
Yes. And repeatable, which is maybe not what you want.
Yeah, we're designing these kind of with Commander first, I think.
Right, yeah.
And if it were in a draft environment, it would maybe be in another Commander draft environment.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in a draft environment, then the ability gets weaker because you won't likely have all clerics.
Right. It could be non-black. It could be non-cleric, and they die, and you have just a kind of what's that theme called? Aristocrat?
Oh,
Aristocrat deck?
letting your own creatures die. Yeah. Non-black actually fits her more than I think more than cleric in a way.
Yeah, interesting.
Because she get darkness, giving more darkness.
Yeah, true.
I do want to explore a little bit more the thing from earlier of like we've got 2 activated abilities that get cheaper if you do something.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe cleric isn't the right answer. Maybe it is something else. Though you kind of find out that she was part of like a whole little team of either justiciars or newbie wannabe justiciars who are all tasked to find this artifact.
What about incorporating leveling for her, because she does desperately want to level up? So maybe not exactly the old mechanic of leveling, but we have all of the new mechanics where they get a special kind of counter, and after that they have new abilities. She could ascend to be the Dark Justiciar and then have new abilities.
What would be a cool thing? What is her like imagined mission in Magic terms?
She's so devoted, and this could be a devotion ability, literally the same word. You could do something only if you have devotion to black of a certain level.
Yeah, if your devotion to black is 5 or higher or 7 or higher.
Yeah. So that would be different than leveling her up, but it would indicate that you have to build your board.
I want it to be your devotion.
Yeah.
But maybe at least for this card for our discussion here, we'll just say like if your devotion to black is 5 or higher. And I think that's a good stopping point for that card. I think that's a fun card that has some potential. Yeah, I'll read this card out here. So we've got 2 and a white, target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. 2 and a black, target creature gets -2/-1 until end of turn. And then Dark Justiciar. Activated abilities of Shadowheart cost 2 less to activate if your devotion to black is 5 or greater.
I think this is really flavorful. I love the Bane and Bless activated abilities matching the cleric. And just having the word devotion for a cleric just makes my flavor senses tingle.
Yeah.
It just happens to work out, right? But you're so committed to this color that you get better abilities.
I think this is appealing enough. If you can maintain a big enough board, you can really start murdering. But people also have the opportunity to maybe dismantle your board a little bit.
I do like that Bless and Bane are repeatable, that they aren't tap abilities. That makes that a lot more reasonable to do on later turns. So you can take somebody down by spending 7 mana, or take 7 things down by spending 7 mana. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. You could maybe switch this to maybe be like activate as a sorcery or something like that. If you wanted to like keep it from being fully, keep all your mana open. But in order for these abilities to be great, in order for them to be really threatening, you got to get that devotion up. And if your devotion's up, you're vulnerable because people can kill your other permanents. You've committed to the board a lot, so maybe you're going to get board wiped.
Right.
And I think we got a little bit of white mana on there, which I think is important.
Right. So that she is a 2-color commander, so she doesn't need background.
Yeah.
In order to build a whole deck.
Speaking of 2-color, and speaking even of white-black, did we back ourselves in a corner here and design 2 of the same card? We've got maybe the breakout character, is that fair to say? One performance of the year, at least.
He's on the cover art also. Like, he's very recognizable.
The handsome, beautiful vampire. Astarion the Decadent. 4 white-black for legendary creature, vampire elf rogue. It's a 4/4, 6 mana 4/4. Death touch, lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, choose one. Feed. Target opponent loses life equal to the amount of life they lost this turn. Friends. You gain life equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. This is like a classic black-white, like death touch, lifelink type of design. We've got 2 colors. We've got like square stats. And then we've got this ability to make your opponents lose extra life or to make you gain more life.
Card's perfect. Just like Astarion. So his creature type line is Vampire Elf Rogue here. It's Vampire Spawn. It's a little bit put upon in his vampire society. He's not super high powered, but he's on the run. He has to scavenge for food, but he's also a charlatan background, so he loves lying and getting people into wordplay and making fun of his friends. I think the phrase you have here, Tim, is super charming and pleasantly derisive. So he's kind of your fashion friend who always wants to look great and loves when you call him beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a high elf noble. He loves the things in the city and he wants to go to a big party.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of vampire, which is a little bit close to some magic vampires. I think like Olivia reminds me a little bit of him.
Yeah.
But not all the vampires, like not the excellent vampires.
Yeah, not the conquistadors. I would maybe question mark the white level of Astarion.
Yeah.
I think maybe the white part is just that he has life gain.
Right.
Whereas Shadowheart, I felt like white had to start getting in there. I think Astarion could maybe lose white and still be Astarion. There's no org around him. He hates his organization.
Yeah, I think there are no rules outside of maybe fashion.
Yeah, it makes the card look really pretty.
And looking as hot as he can in his little jacket. Yeah.
I don't know if he's full red-black. Like, I don't know if he's all the way out of control. Though, I mean, Olivia Voldaren is red-black, and she's basically a queen.
Right.
A kind of crucial early moment in the game with Astarion is, like, you're in camp, you don't know he's a vampire yet. He doesn't have any vampire powers. Because of some of the premise of the game, all the characters that you're meeting are kind of suppressed or sick in some way. In Astarion's case, that's actually just as helpful as it is harmful, because he can walk in the sun freely, even though he's a spawn. He can cross rivers. There's some jokes about that kind of stuff. Eat garlic. Early on, you don't know he's a vampire. And then right away, he's one of your companions, one of your friends, one of your strongest allies at this moment. He's like, while I sleep, am I going to drink the player's blood? I'm going to maybe it'll kill him. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I'll try to go easy. So he's not afraid of endangering the lives of people around him just to meet his own needs.
Yeah, I think the first time you meet him, he attacks you and puts his teeth up to your neck.
Yeah, yeah.
He's definitely not meek. He's definitely willing to bite. And it does make him happy. Yeah, he does enjoy drinking blood. He just kind of holds himself back in pleasant company.
Yeah, yeah. With Astarion, he has a kind of a bite ability, like a blood drain ability. You can use that on your own characters to power up Astarion ahead of time. I think there's probably a black card in there where you have an ability, I think of Morbid. If a creature has died this turn, or if a creature has been dealt damage this turn, he's a little bit stronger.
I was thinking about Morbid too. Yeah. I think Morbid would fit really well on his card.
There's another one like Spectacle or something like that.
It's if an opponent's taken damage.
Yeah, if opponents have taken damage. I guess what I'm trying to capture though is like if anything has taken damage, if he has gotten in there.
I like spectacle for the flavor of the keyword.
Yeah, yeah.
And for the fact that somebody else has taken damage.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if there's a term for it, but if a creature takes damage, like you can later say it's dead now. Destroy a creature that's taken damage this turn or whatever.
Yes.
So you start by doing a small amount of damage, and then his like once per turn ability is okay, it's actually dead. If we are thinking no more white and move him into red black, I think that opens up that like spectacle space.
The red starts to get us in like rogue stuff.
Yeah.
So rogues in Dungeons and Dragons, they can hide and all that kind of stuff. But then kind of crucially, they want to strike at the right time. They want to like sneak up behind, the big warrior is distracting the enemy, and then the rogue sneaks behind and stabs him. Or you hide in the shadows, then pounds and stab him or whatever. And whether it's haste or some other kind of quick ability that conveys rogue, I think we're kind of getting somewhere.
The first turn is so important for a rogue. And depending on how you play him, like it gets even more important. Like there's assassin concept where your first turn is your most effective turn.
Your most effective turn, yeah. Maybe it's not necessarily like an expensive thing, but almost like a kicker effect. I could play him if I want to play him for 3 mana.
Right.
For just like 2 and a black, I can do that. But if I want to pay like 4 black red, then he enters the battlefield, stabs them, does 2 damage, shocks somebody or whatever, lightning bolts somebody. And then his second ability cares about if something's been damaged.
I think we should call that coup de grace.
All right. We'll start with kicker and we'll change it if we need to. So
I think kicker's good.
So we'll start him at 2 and a black. Well, we can, mess with these later. But we got kicker for 2 and a red. When ETB, if kicked, deal, 3 damage to any target. And then we have a second ability that cares about if something's been dealt damage.
Yeah. I think that's good. I kind of like the end step trigger. The good start there and then edit. So at the beginning of your end step.
If something has been dealt damage this turn, blah, 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 blah. Do we want to do creature or player? Do we want to do... What are we thinking for the clause here? Do we want to be if a target was dealt?
Yeah, if any target is also complicated, right?
Yeah, that's hard. Also hard to word.
Yeah. What if it's just the creature has been dealt damage this turn, destroy it, or if target creature is dealt damage this turn, destroy it.
Yeah, at the beginning of your end step, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn.
Yeah.
Templating wise, we might want to say destroy another target creature or target creature you don't control or up to 1 target creature.
You may destroy. Yeah. You're not going to force him to destroy himself, are you?
No, that's what I'm saying. And we also don't want to, I think part of the flavor of Astarion is that he'll slurp a little bit of blood from somebody, but not kill them if it's your party member. Right. So maybe the thing we need to put this over the top is just lifelink. Because then we have the flavor of I can ETB, deal damage, and gain some life. How you feel?
I thought we were taking away white, though. You didn't want lifelink in there.
Guess what other color can have lifelink?
What? Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
We're safe. The Color Pie Committee is not going to come busting down our door or anything. We had our Color Pie Break Challenge 2 weeks ago. We're not doing that anymore.
Okay, so if you want to kick him, he costs 6 total. So what we have is 2 and a black is his base cost, and his kicker is 2 and a red. So if you hold on to him until turn 5 or 6 in a commander game, you can destroy a creature.
Yeah.
That feels a little bit heavy on cost.
I don't know what his stats should be. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, maybe he needs big stats to have that work.
Maybe we could pull the cost of the kicker down a little bit.
With lifelink, maybe the cost is fine.
We could do Commander Players a Solid and make it a red-white hybrid.
Oh, they'd be so happy.
Have an alternative vampire commander. This probably doesn't get up to Edgar levels.
Yeah, I know. If you could draft a 3-color commander, it would be like, you would always pick him. If you see it in the pack, you're like, I'm taking it.
Let's say you don't pay the kicker. How do you feel about your card? 2 and a black at the beginning of your end step, you may destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. I guess that does have build around abilities because it makes me want to have like little things that can just deal a little bit of damage easily. And then I'm sort of making my card back by every turn being able to pick off the best creature easily.
Right. I think his power toughness have to come down.
Probably, yeah. He can't stay at 4-4.
I mean, if Lae'zel Lae'zel's a 3-3, Astarion's not a 4-4.
And Astarion's not really a 4-4, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
He's a nimble vampire.
I kind of like the
3-1, 3-2.
power heavy vampires.
Yeah.
Toughness light.
3-1, 3-2. One of those, I think, is where I would put him.
Yeah, I like 3-2, I think.
All right. We start him juiced. We got him. We're making up these cards. They can, if someone beats us over the head later, we can change it around.
You don't make a boring card.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good spot to stop, actually. I think we're good here. 2 and a black lifelink, 3-2. It has kicker for a red-white hybrid. 1 and a red-white hybrid, so 2 mana. If it was kicked, you get to deal 3 damage to any target. Because he has lifelink, you get to, get some life. And then at the beginning of your end step, you may destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Yeah, the rogue, I think, the rogue sneaking up and just like sneak attacking people at the end of each round, finishing off the weak targets. That's a good place. A rogue doesn't want to be stuck next to the healthy creature. The rogue wants to be stuck next to the wounded creature so they can finish it off and be safe.
Let me kill it. Yeah.
I got a cloak in my game where every time Astarion was getting a killing blow, he'd also turn invisible, which is ideal.
Oh my god!
Because I could put him in as much danger as I want, finish off a target, be invisible, safe until his next turn, and it was great. 3 down. Next up, we've got Gale, Gale, Waterdeep Prodigy. He's 2 and a blue for a 1/3. Legendary creature, human wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may cast up to 1 target card of the other type from your graveyard. If a spell cast from your graveyard this way will be put in your graveyard, exile it instead, and as choose a background. So I'm going to recap what this ability means because it's a little hard to understand. Whenever you cast an instant, you can cast a sorcery that turn from your graveyard. Whenever you cast a sorcery from your hand, you can cast an instant from your graveyard. And then it has an extra clause where that sort of graveyard cast is sort of flashback style. If you cast that sorcery out of your graveyard, it gets exiled, so you don't get to keep redoing that.
Right, so you still have to pay for the one from your graveyard. You're just allowed to cast it.
Yes.
So his type line is pretty vanilla human wizard, but that is what he is in the game. He's extremely human, extremely wizard. His title, Gale Waterdeep Prodigy, he calls himself a prodigy. He believes he is just the most amazing wizard, destined for greatness. His ego is so big, and I think his pose in this art, where he's just feeling the power, that is extremely Gale.
I think of him as likably cocky though. Like he's super polite, he's super friendly.
Well, okay. I do have to reveal that my character did marry Gale in my game, so I do have a soft spot for him, but I don't know if everybody likes him immediately because he is very cocky. And the first time you talk to him, he says, I was a wizard prodigy.
Fair enough.
I'm Gale of Waterdeep. He's very, very big ego. But overall, he's having a good time. He's saucy. He's fun. He's overall a champion of the people. He likes the city. He's a sage background, so he likes learning new things. In another early scene, you see him casting mirror image on himself to check out his own look. I'm going to say his own butt. Yeah. He's checking out his own hair. He's checking out his own body by creating mirror images of himself and talking to the mirror images. And again, this just goes into the big ego prodigy vibe, but it's so funny. It happens multiple times. He has a mirror image servant, and I think that like cloning is a big thing for Gale that I don't see on the card.
Yeah.
I think copying is more his flavor than anything graveyard related. I don't think he thinks about the past that hard. I think he's really just interested in getting his power back.
And he has, I think, maybe the most noticeable thing. If you recruit Gale but don't play with him in your party, his quest, like, I think gives people a bad impression of him because as part of his weakening, he doesn't have control of this artifact that's been implanted in his chest. And he needs to absorb the power of magic items in order to stay alive. Which, if you imagine you're the typical, D&D player going into a tomb, getting a bunch of treasure, getting some cool magic items. Those magic items are important. And Gale's like, I need to destroy those to survive. You're like, come on, man, I don't even have you in my party. What are you making me do that for?
Yeah.
So there is, I think, a really memorable component to Gale of needing to consume artifacts. He doesn't eat them. He, like, I don't know, glowingly holds them up to his chest, kind of video game style.
He absorbs the weave, yes.
So he's got like normal wizard powers, whatever those are. He really likes the kind of like cloning, duplication powers, but he'll throw fireballs. And then he also has this kind of like hunger or need to keep consuming magic items.
A big part of his character is that he used to be the lover of the goddess of magic.
Yeah.
And he talks about it all the time.
Yeah. We kind of found out that he was maybe, I don't know, groomed a little bit. If a god takes a mortal lover, it's guaranteed to not be ethical. So,
right.
He like all these other characters, he's got some baggage to work through. And that's part of the, I don't know, the enjoyment of the game maybe is helping people.
But it's part of his past grandeur.
Yeah. I saw a Reddit post a couple months ago of a guy whose dad had a photo of him when he dated Beyonce. And it's kind of the same vibe of like, well, the dad has nothing to claim to fame now, but he definitely has a photo of himself on a date with Beyonce, but when they were like 16 or whatever.
Date Beyonce one time.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's where Gale's at with Mystra is the, yeah.
Okay, but his card is not bad. His card is good.
Yeah, we're casting multiple spells.
More power. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of need to have like a mixture of like expensive and cheap spells because I kind of want to like get a bunch in my graveyard so I can start accruing value. I'm probably really limited on mana. I think that's the wrap on this Gale card and why it maybe didn't take off. If you're trying to cast 2 spells a turn in blue, what are you casting where that matters? Are you just like double cantripping every turn? That's not very fun.
Yeah, that's where I think copies get more fun because copying a big spell feels really good. And people will dump 7 or 10 mana into a big spell like that.
Yeah.
Whereas spending 4 and then 5 on 2 big-ish spells is not as exciting.
Yeah. I think the kind of template of what I'm looking for here, the kind of gist from what we've talked about so far, is like Gale has the ability to either copy spells or multicast, do something with spells. And he's able to do that with bigger and bigger spells if he can keep his thing fed. If he can keep his little curse or his magic thing fed. Maybe a template for that for me would be like when Gale enters the battlefield, get some energy counters. You can spend energy to copy spells of however much energy you spent. And at the end of your turn, you can sacrifice an artifact. If you do, get a bunch of energy.
Okay, I hadn't thought about energy mechanic. I like that. Obviously, it would be a kind of a big change for like the set that it goes in because you would need other energy support.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking of energy as like you could support it, and when you build your commander deck, you absolutely are putting a bunch of energy cards in there. But like a lot of other energy cards, it's kind of self-contained as well.
Yeah, it could work on its own. Yeah.
There's an old Jace card, Jace Mirror Mage, which is a planeswalker that can like kick to make copies of itself. So you have like multiple Shadow Jaces walking around. And some portion of that also feels pretty Gale-y. If we're not copying spells or making copies of Gale.
I like that a lot. Cloning himself is fun. Cloning other stuff is a little bit less his vibe in the game, I think.
Yeah, and there's even sort of a component if Gale like dies in combat or whatever, there's clones ready to like deal with that contingency. So I think it maybe another route to take with Gale here is like finding a way to make multiple copies of Gale.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason that matters.
So maybe sketch out what you said about the energy ability and then think
Yeah.
about if having copies of him would help that ability.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sketch of the rules here, when he enters the battlefield, get 3 energy, tap him, spend any amount of energy, copy target instant or sorcery spell with that amount of energy. So if you spend 4 energy, you can copy a 4 mana value spell. And then at end of turn, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, gain 3 energy.
Yeah. So I like that on a single card, right?
Mm-hmm,
So by the time it becomes your second turn with him out, you can spend all your energy and copy a 6 cost spell or a 6 mana value spell. I think that feels great.
Yeah.
So if you have a copy of him, how does this change? So you could sack 2 artifacts to gain 6 energy. I think that'd probably be the most common thing to do with the clone. Is just sack.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, I'm starting to realize that might leave the flavor a little bit because there's only one Gale that is real that can eat artifacts. So I don't necessarily want these clones to be like gaining all of his abilities.
I see.
There's even some other wizards that you meet where they have like an illusion or like an image of themselves that's like kind of autonomous, that doesn't have their powers, but like has their personality and stuff like that.
Yeah. Welcome to my home. If you would like to enter the front door. Yeah.
For better or worse, this energy solution, this is 3 different clauses. We don't really have room for another thing if we're trying to get like this energy thing plus the copy thing on there.
I think what you have fits really well with his flavor. So energy, sacking artifacts to get more energy, making copies. I think that covers a lot of what his like top line character traits are, is like get bigger and bigger by destroying things. And then cast a huge spell at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Or consistently cast a spell every turn.
Yeah. Yeah, you could double cast 1 or 2 mana spells pretty often.
Right.
Whenever I'm looking at a commander, especially like Gale, this card might be monocolor. So I really want to have a dream where I'm going to be doing big things sometimes. And being able to say like, okay, my deck's got a lot of cheap artifacts. I can make a bunch of food or treasure or blood or whatever. Because the reality in the video game as well is you don't give him the good magic items, you give him the crappiest magic items that like meet the requirement. So, if I have an artifact that enters the battlefield and draws a card and does something crappy, that's going to be perfect to feed to Gale. And it isn't too far out of the reality of playing the video game either. Whenever you sort of have a thing where you need a mixture of your cool spells and your good artifacts that you want to put in there. Oh, and now my deck has 20 artifacts, so maybe I need to put like a card that
very wizardy,
Yeah, I need to have like some instants and sorceries that like can copy artifacts or like bring artifacts back from my graveyard. And so you have like ways for the 2 different, it's a 3-part thing. I need Gale, I need cool instants and sorceries, and I need artifacts. How am I going to combine, or even energy cards? Can I have an artifact that makes energy for me? And if so, then I'm sort of feeding into Gale in kind of different cool ways. And I can kind of trust, hopefully, that they're going to be like 5, 6, 7, 8 mana spells that are like really dynamite to copy. They must exist. There must be some fun ones out there to deploy with Gale here.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm not sure of is for cards that make energy, is it usually easy to repeatably make energy?
No.
This is only once per turn and there's a cost, but I feel like usually energy goes down.
Yeah, a lot of time there are a bunch of cards that are just like self-contained. Hey, I enter the battlefield, I bring 3 energy, I bring 2 energy, and when I attack, I can spend 2 energy. So like, they're just flexibility, right? Which of your cards that spend energy or do you actually want to spend energy on? There aren't that many ways to just like continuously generate energy, except maybe like rares and stuff. Though there are some famous ones, and I think that maybe is okay with Gale, that there's not like huge ways to generate tons of energy.
Yeah. It does feel unusual that you start with 3 and then go to 6 and then go to 9 from one card. But maybe that's why he's your commander.
Yeah. You need this like multi-part combo to get that repeated energy. Like there's
Right.
I forget what, it's some sort of tower or something where every time you cast an instant or sorcery, you get 1 energy. You can spend a bunch of energy to lightning bolt something. Gale feels kind of in that same zone of like, I can gain energy by doing a thing, and then I can spend energy, pretty naturally as well.
So, is there a surprising interaction somewhere with sack X to gain Y, and then you get 2Y instead? Like, are there like white, black creatures that would mess that up? So, if he's in the 99,
does he generate too much energy, you're wondering?
Does he generate too much? Yeah. Do you generate 9 energy in a turn?
Yeah.
If you get double effects from ETBs or sacks or both, you get 12 energy a turn.
Right now we got him sketched out as an end of turn trigger. So it's not like Phyrexian Altar or something where we could sack a creature to get mana and then use that mana to get more creatures, to sack more creatures to get more mana. He can't do that like a bunch of times in a turn. So I feel like we've got the safety we need to not generate too much energy.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
I'm sure our friends could absolutely break this card and get so much energy.
Yeah. The way he's reading now, he kind of feels like he's maybe more of a 99er than a commander.
Yeah.
Because, it's a way to generate energy with artifacts. And then his tap ability is sort of like secondary. He's mostly there to just keep the energy flowing. I don't know. I still feel like he if you want to take the monocolor commander challenge, then Gale can help you with it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think his original cost and size are also pretty reasonable.
Yeah, 2 in a blue and then a 1/3.
Yeah,
I think that fits well for him. Yeah.
I guess he could have 0 power. I don't know. Is that we'll keep him at 1/3. He can stay 1/3. Yeah.
He's not a skeleton. He
could swing a quarterstaff.
He can hold a staff.
And
a shield. If anybody's listening, put a shield on Gale.
Yeah, the human bonus in Baldur's Gate is you get like shield and like all like spears and pitchforks and militia training, I guess. I don't know. So he can hold a spear if you really need him to deal 1 damage to someone. Next up on our list of companions here is Will, Blade of Frontiers. He's 1 in a red for a 1/1. Legendary creature, human warlock. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1 and ignore the lowest roll. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, put a +1/+1 counter on Will. And he has to choose a background.
Yeah, so part of it is his story and part of it is his class. So all warlocks in D&D and in Baldur's Gate get powers from somebody else. They have a pact with a powerful being or a force of nature or a magical item. Will has a pact with a devil, who is very clearly a devil. He knows he has a pact with the devil, but he is an overall good, heroic guy. He's super daring. He calls himself the Blade of the Frontiers because he wants to protect everybody who doesn't have a protector. He has like a big fancy rapier and fancy clothes, and he's been fighting in a big war. Like a lot of warlocks in D&D, he's got kind of this patron who will ask him to do things that he has to do because of his pact. And so there's always a kind of push-pull between like he wants to go be a hero and maybe his patron wants something else.
There's sort of this contrast between a devil, which is like very lawful, very strict, and a demon, which is just like rampant chaos. So he has a pact with the devil, which means that there's this giant infernal contract of all the clauses. And Will said, hey, I'm not going to kill innocent people. That's not on the table as part of my infernal contract. And the devil's like, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. So there's sort of this like, I mostly get to adhere to my moral code, but if the devil can find some good enough charges as to why this, this other creature needs to be slain, it's hard for Will to get out of that. And trying to break the contract and all that, that's all kind of stuff that we're going to try to get into in the story. But yeah, he's this like swashbuckling, handsome, daring, helpful guy. When you're looking at him, you're like, oh, what a cool guy. He's a son of a noble.
Yeah, he came from the city, but he went out into the frontiers to defend them.
Yeah, he's been battling demons in hell for years. There is a little bit in kind of Fiend Warlock mechanics in D&D that there is a little bit of dice manipulation, but I wouldn't necessarily think of Will as being as dice representing how Will works. What do you think?
Yes, the variations for warlocks in D&D are pretty widely varied. You can go a lot of different ways with warlocks. People probably spec Will differently when they play with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like a canonical Will spec. He does come with a big sword, so maybe people make him a sword lock.
Yeah. I think because of that, what I want to do is make sure he's got a decent body. Like he has a sword. When you first see him, tricks a goblin and then like flings the weapon out of his hand and then like stabs him, like a cool Robin Hoodie sort of swashbuckle. We give him like an okay body that has like some benefit while he's fighting. And then we do something really cool where you as the player pick who he's pacted to. You have a demon in your deck, you have something in a creature that he like bonds to, and that like somehow informs the rest of Will's powers.
So kind of like choose a background.
Yeah, what I want to do is instead of choose a background, I want choose a devil.
Yeah.
You know what? If we want to deploy that technology, I'm happy to partner with demon.
Right. Yeah.
Mechanically, what we're trying to talk about here, I don't have my full powers without this pact with this demon. And it might even be, maybe we don't have the second card as a creature we're attacking with. Maybe something like when Will enters the battlefield, search your library for a demon or devil. Exile it.
I was thinking, yeah.
And then Will gets like +X whenever, where X is the mana value of that demon. That's not quite right, but we're going to have a devil that exists out there somewhere, and we're going to benefit from whatever that devil's doing.
I love the idea of searching a library for, and then a list of things, demon or devil or whatever. So it doesn't have to be a partner, it doesn't have to be background, it doesn't have to be an actual commander. If it's not just power, toughness, it could be really nice to have like flexibility. Like, what if it mutates onto Will or something like that?
Yes.
Or probably just entering the battlefield would be too much.
Really, he's not like giga strong, like you search out a 7/7 demon and now Will's a 8/8. Like that's not quite Will.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe a twist on that might work is like he enters the battlefield, you search up a demon, exile it. That's your pact.
Right.
If you spend like 1 or 2 or 3 mana, Will gains the abilities of that demon.
Yeah.
So whatever the text box you said mutate.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty close to what we're looking for here. Finding the cost, finding the clause, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I think I really like it being, like I said, in the 99s, you have flexibility. So if you have conditional abilities, like if you know you're playing against a control player, or if you know you have to race against a really fast deck, you can pick out which pact you want. So activate it, and then Will would gain the abilities of the exiled card until end of turns. He would gain activated abilities and things like
static
lifelink
abilities, triggered abilities.
Yeah,
yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
He would gain keywords. He would gain all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So anything that's written basically in the text box.
Yeah.
Would he gain Planeswalker ability?
I think you're pretty safe there, because if we say you have to search for a demon or devil, that's never going to match a Planeswalker.
Are you sure?
So the only thing that gets close to that is there's a Planeswalker named Grist. And Grist is a insect that has this clause. As long as Grist is not on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types.
Yeah.
So if there was a devil Planeswalker created later, if we took Obnixilis and also gave him the Grist clause, then Will could do that and gain Planeswalker abilities. Or if you do some like really complicated, there are a bunch of ways to like change types of cards and stuff like that. If you manage to do something like that, maybe you would also be able to do that.
I think you get a changeling, though.
He could get a changeling, yes. Yep. Generally, changelings are not going to be that desirable.
Yeah, they're kind of underpowered because they're changelings, right?
Yeah. And there aren't a lot of rare ones either. Probably the main thing that's tricky is that there are some demons with some really powerful abilities. So that's probably actually the most dangerous thing. Maybe we could have it just be devils. Are there enough devils? There are 52 devils in Magic, so maybe it's just devils. What are the coolest ones that we could do here? Asmodeus, well, that's that's even Forgotten Realms there. Do we want to give this an activated ability like some black color so we can get all the black devils? Only about half the devils are red. The other half are black or black-red.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. Yeah, give the activated ability a color. Or like a hybrid, like red or black.
Like a 1 and then a Rakdos hybrid.
Yeah.
What are our most dangerous devils here? I'm going to sort by EDH. So the number 1 devil is Mayhem Devil. So if you want Mayhem Devil in the command zone and are willing to pay a little extra, you could play Will, activate him whenever relevant things are being sacrificed. Another fun one that's like kind of a combo-y commander thing is Witty Roastmaster, who is a little devil citizen. He's actually kind of an honest guy from Capenna. He has Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Witty Roastmaster deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this is another sort of like you're paying extra every turn in order to get this ability. But maybe because in the command zone, now you have the flexibility you need. Hellrider is kind of a fun one. Haste, and whenever a creature you control attacks, Hellrider deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. If you want to build your Will Go Wide deck, you get Hellrider out of your deck, and then you attack, and then all of your creatures are pinging things. Yeah, if those are the most busted things that we're going to do with Will, I think we're safe. We're not crossing lines. And it also opens the possibility that they put Mizora as a card, and they could be packed into Mizora and do whatever she does. Raphael's a card, so another character from the video game.
Oh, nice.
How you feeling?
Okay, so first of all, I think we need to exile the devil with a counter, so it's not just exiled with this card. So that if he gets destroyed and comes back, he still has the same pact.
Oh, he should have the same pact. That's a good question.
Another option is that he has to choose a different devil.
Yeah.
And the downside there is that if you have like a threatening devil, people will just remove Will because he's small.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to choose a different devil.
The first case where we when Will enters the battlefield, if you do not control an exiled devil, exile a devil and put a pact counter on it. Right. And then Will gains the powers of the pacted devil. Then each time he dies or blinks or whatever, he keeps the same pact. You don't create 2 or 3 or 4 packs. You declare the pact the first time, and then it's always the same. One of the nice things about the other way, where it's like the more magic-y, it's more compatible with magic rules, enter the battlefield, get a thing, that's the thing you're bonded to. The other thing that's kind of nice is if other players are kind of concerned about the power level of your devil, they got to remove him once, and now the Will player has to find a backup strategy.
Find a different devil, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of adds a little frontier justice to Will here. Because if you do have just 1 devil in your deck and it's a nuclear combo, you're 1 removal spell away from that falling apart, for better or worse, whether that's good or bad.
What I am concerned about then is Will being able to protect himself when he's not activated. If something is like a value thing or you really want it, like whenever something dies or whenever a creature enters, those kinds of things you really want on everybody's turn. And if you have to pay 8 per round to keep it up, and then somebody just kills it and you can't get the ability back, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Here's a compromise then. What if it gains the abilities until your next turn?
Thinking. I feel like it's a little unusual, but I like it.
It solves the problem.
Right.
It's such a dramatic thing. It's your commander. It's your commander's ability. Something lasting until your next turn is less of a cost than putting it on a workaday creature.
I mean, he could be in the 99.
Yeah, but it's still kind of a big event. I've got this devil. I had to go search this devil. I put it, they're stacked on top of each other. Everyone else is like, oh, what's that? And then when you activate it, you just know, I just have to pay sort of an upkeep to keep these powers.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Yeah.
if we do want to do the Mayhem Devil, Witty Roastmaster, one of these like kind of engine-y devils we want to put as our secret commander, spending 8 mana to do that or timing it really perfectly is maybe too difficult.
Yeah. So, but flavor-wise, you don't change the pact a lot. It's very much a lawyer kind of, there's a big written document.
Yeah. I mean, even within the game, though, it does happen.
We're not saying anything about what Will does or does not do.
Yeah.
If I'm making a warlock in a D&D game, I generally don't change my pact during the course of the game.
Yeah, that is true. But also I have definitely seen like Let's Plays and stuff or D&D adventure recaps where the changing of your pact is like a really cool, dramatic part of the storyline of your character.
Yeah, people do that. Same as like clerics losing their god or paladins losing their oath or whatever. It could be a story beat.
I think the point at which your warlock dies and then a quest ensues to resurrect them is a great time narratively to also like question what the pact's, the pact lasts until death. Okay, well I did die, so now
I'm dead. Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I don't know. I mostly like the second way, the more magic native way, because it's just a little safer. It allows us to just keep Will super cheap as a creature, a little guy, without worrying that we're bringing like 6 mana devil abilities onto the battlefield.
Okay, I like it.
Maybe we'll keep one in a red. Maybe bump him to 2/1. We can give him a little more power. 3/1. He's like,
I mean, one toughness is very small. He could die to a stiff breeze.
You want like a 2/2?
He can wear armor and stuff. Not heavy armor, but
yeah. I don't have a lot of Will expertise. Whenever I try to bring him into the party, he gets smushed all the time. So
yeah,
maybe I have the wrong
gotta
impression.
Give him a shield. Give him a shield.
I guess he also is a human, so he can also hold the shield. All right, last but opposite of least, whatever that is.
Oh my gosh. Best? Last but best?
We've got Karlach, Fury of Avernus. 4 and a red for legendary creature Tiefling Barbarian. Whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Let's choose a background. There's a 5/4. So 5 mana, 5/4, and then you just get to multi-attack. What's Karlach like as a character?
She's so perfect. Okay. Mm-hmm. She started as a tiefling who are kind of like devil-looking people, but they are only devil-looking because they were kind of cast into the hells. They aren't actually devils inside. She's got a big heart. She's a barbarian. She likes to swing a big hammer or axe around. And she's had a rough go of it, like many of our characters. She was like forced into a devil's army in this war that has been in the hells. And to kind of keep her on a leash and power her up, she has kind of a clockwork mechanical engine in her chest, which is very unstable above the ground. So she got like juiced up to be this super soldier. The events at the beginning of the game happen. She's above ground now, trying to escape her old devil owner. I mean, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, and it's the infernal engine, so it's like this big beating red furnace in her chest.
Yes. And she's so sweet. Tim was telling me that she was kind of a late addition to the character roster, and they already had like hardcore warrior girl, they had emo girl, and then they did like a big golden retriever character. And so she's huge, and she has a huge weapon, but she's just a big, sappy golden retriever and loves to make friends and loves to pet animals. And she's just big mommy.
She's like 6.5, 7 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely pure-hearted.
And, I think a lot of the plot lines in the game are about coercion, and she's definitely anti-coercion. She's ready to break everybody free from any kind of problems they're having.
Yeah. And kind of mechanically, Karlach is a barbarian, which means faster, lots of hit points, doesn't wear heavy armor, very athletic. And then also the cool feature is like raging, which is the ability to like temporarily get extra strong, extra athletic, all sorts of, maybe you get extra bonus abilities, light on fire or whatever. And as long as you can keep fighting, then you can keep the rage going and you can keep moving. And that's maybe the closest part to where her rules text comes in. This is another one that sort of feels kind of leadershipy to me. After your first combat, you get a second combat. That feels more like the Boros Legion to me. That's like, everybody dig deep and we're going to attack again because we got a big army. How does this strike you?
Well, I love her. I love the art. I think the art fits her really well with just the huge hammer coming straight towards the camera. She doesn't actually have to attack to get 2 combats. So this, I think, is active the first turn she's out. It's such a strong ability. So huge. I have enjoyed playing decks like this in Commander before. Multiple combats. People flip out when it's about to happen.
Are you saying your bias is kicking in and you're saying the card's perfect? We're done?
I like playing this. Yeah, card's perfect. Change nothing. As is.
Alrighty. She's maybe more of an enchantment than she is an actor on the battlefield, because her job is mostly to be played on the final turn when you then go and double attack people.
Right, and she just stays back because she's summoning sick.
Yeah. If we're looking at how well the cards map, I don't know. Maybe it maps the excitement level. Hey, we're all going to fight until we die.
Do you want more of the up and down or the activating or...
Yeah, I think I'd want either...
Unstable?
Yeah, either the Infernal Engine component, like, hey, she's got this thing that's beating. I guess we don't want to talk too much about where that leads. But she does need to find like a smith. If she's going to survive, she needs to find like a smith to tune up her engine. Maybe what I'm trying to talk about are things that are just all kind of downside.
I've commented on the titles, Karlach, Fury of Avernus. I don't think she would want to be called that. Unlike the other companions who gave themselves their titles or very strongly agree with them, I think Karlach kind of wants to put that Avernus phase behind her. First of all, we changed the name of the card. Name her Karlach, Bat Out of Hell.
All right. You can get some items sometimes, some infernal coins that allow you to further juice up the engine. I don't know. It's like an arcade machine or something, or like a like a laundromat launcher thing.
Yeah.
Is there some way we can convey that? Can we spend treasure? Can we spend red mana? Can we do something to pump her to make her more of the point?
Yeah, I think that's where I was thinking of like fire breathing would make sense for her. And also it's kind of like activate rage, you get more power. But that's kind of a boring ability for a commander.
Yeah. Yeah, the built-in ability is so strong. If we're sticking with that, there's not a lot of room to layer on more.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah.
We could add a penalty if she doesn't attack.
Yeah, that was sort of a sketch that I had in my mind while we were talking, and I just feel like I'm a wet blanket.
Yeah.
Because to me, the way that rage should work is something like, when you attack, blah, 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 blah. But if you didn't attack, you lose all your abilities. You stop raging.
Right.
But that's just kind of sad. I don't know.
Yeah. We could put attacks each turn if able. And that would fit flavor-wise, and it would also make her a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like she would have to get into combats.
Yeah.
I would be happy adding that.
All right.
I think it's the downside. It makes her a little weaker.
And that maps pretty well to like from Barbarian to D&D, what that would mean. Yeah.
And then give her haste and compensation for a coin.
Alrighty. Well, all the other ones we did massive overhauls of, but Karlach here is your baby. You're already happy. Yeah. You don't need anything more. That's
a big mommy. Yeah.
That's a great way to end this episode.
No changes.
Yeah, I'm willing to concede.
Okay.
Anyhow, there are a bunch of other companions that you can recruit, and maybe we'll do a second episode someday. If people like this episode, maybe we'll jump in and do some more live design. There's Halsin, the big druid, whose card absolutely does not do him justice, as well as a couple other ones, Minthara and some of the other cool characters you can recruit. And they also didn't do cards for like all the main villains in the game, which maybe helps lower the spoiler level, but it's kind of disappointing. I don't know. I want to see the big three.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be a thing to tackle for a future project. If you've played Baldur's Gate, give us your version of Ketherick or something. But that's probably it for the main content of the episode. Do you have anything else you want to say about Baldur's Gate? What's your pitch for people? If you want to encourage people to play Baldur's Gate, why should they play it?
There's so much to do in the game that actually affects the game. So it's not the same game when you play it again. And when Tim and I played it, we got totally different outcomes.
Yeah.
Totally different conversations, totally different friends you make in the game. I got a bunch of pets and I got married in my game and it was very sweet. And Tim was just a murdered demon god by the end. There's a lot of flexibility and it's really fun to explore all the nooks and crannies of a game like that.
Yeah, I think the thing I've been telling people about it that I like is it is one of those 100-hour games, but unlike like an Assassin's Creed or a Grand Theft Auto or other huge open world games, the Starfield, the Skyrim, something like that. It's a fairly big game, but there's not a lot of filler. Each thing is like a specific location in the game that has like significance. So everything you're visiting like has like a dungeon master cook this up for me kind of feel to it, rather than like, I'm just going to bust down the 75th cave that I've been to, and it's just got a different potion at the end.
They're like, no quest to go fetch 10 boar butts.
No, there's no like kill 10 enemies to prove that we should let you into this town. There's none of that at all.
And if you kill a wolf, it's dead forever. It doesn't respawn.
There's no respawn, so it really feels like the game's moving you forward, moving you to new areas. Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities not to fight. I mean, it's a tactics. If you don't want to do any fighting, it's not going to be that. And it is D&D. If you're not a fan of where D&D's been at, then it's still good. Racial bonuses and all kinds of stuff like that.
No, there aren't racial bonuses anymore, I don't think.
Well, there's like the human proficiencies
they're
and stuff.
Way minor, but they're not stat.
Yeah, they're not quite as
They're not stat based. Yeah.
Not all orcs are stronger than the average dwarf. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Let us know if you've been playing the game. If you've got ideas for the cards. If you got different ideas for choose a backgrounds. If you got like a twist on that, I'd be interested in seeing how those where we could go with choose a background to make that more fun. Before we completely finish up the episode, though, I just want to remind everyone of our current design challenge. We have a design challenge every month. We ask for your cool cards based on our devious challenge, and then we read all those on the pod. So if you just want to participate, hop on the Discord and drop your card into our challenge thread. Should be easy to find. Our challenge is January for January. Design a common card that uses digital or out-of-game mechanics with a fairy theme. So we got kind of three components to this challenge. Common, you're trying to do something weird with a common. We want digital or out-of-game, so this will be like alchemy, dungeons, conspiracies, weird dice, even kind of uncards if you want to go there. And then you got to have at least a little sprinkling of fairy dust. Doesn't have to be a fairy creature. It could just be like talking about a fairy contract. We talked about contracts today. Selling your name or something like that is a fairy thing to do. And then as always, we also have some bonus points. You can, for 2024, you can make it a 2-4, or January, give it vigilance. And that's due January 26th. Where would you go? Is any of this inspiring? Would you want to do an alchemy card? Would you want to do like another dungeon? Do you like conspiracies, that kind of stuff?
I haven't really felt the dungeons is not really attractive to me, but I've not really thought about alchemy. So those are kind of fun, like permanent changes.
That'd be great for our will card. We need to perpetually make a pact.
Oh, that's true. A perpetual pact. Yeah.
So if it dies and comes back, he still has the same pact. He's stuck with it.
When you did say sell your name, though, I thought about a card where the name field is blank. So that was pretty exciting.
Maybe that's technology to get your commander clone. You erase the name of your character.
Oh.
And now you have a copy that also, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah. Someone give us the sell your name card. We had all the blank name uncards. Maybe you can find something in that technology.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for our podcast for the week. Go ahead and join that Discord for the show notes. You can also visit beaconofcreation.com to see like all the card images and stuff like that. We put those up there. And then also we got a big new thing. We got the YouTube channel is back up and running. I got 2 new videos up there. They're kind of videos of the existing episodes. And I'm kind of hoping that if you're the type that wants to look at the card while you're hearing, or if you have like a 2 monitor setup, you want to do something on your main monitor, have a cool episode going at the same time. This will be a good setup for that. You want something to look at in bed while you're falling asleep. you could check out that YouTube channel. If you have feedback on that, also, I want to know about that too, because I'm still learning video editing and all that. Gabby knows. Gabby's watched me slaving away at Premiere for hours lately.
I was doing great.
Anything you want to tell people about?
Nope, just check out those videos. They're great. I'm super happy to look at the cards instead of just hearing it. Mm-hmm. I'm so much more of a visual person. So,
as usual, everybody, thanks for listening.
Bye. And always remember, give Gale a shield.